Welcome back traders to another backtesting video. This will be the first backtesting video on this second channel, but it is a continuation of the series that I started on my main channel. The first two episodes are on the Wheels Effect channel, so there'll be a link in the description if you do want to check them out. I am going to quickly give you a recap of the first 2 months we actually tested. The first month here, we ended with, it was actually 6.6%, but I accidentally took a trade the following month in the April. So 5.6% the first month, and the second month was obviously the April. As you can see, we finished with 1.6% profit. So overall, over 2 months worth of trading, we're at, basically 8% profit, which is absolutely great. I'm pretty happy with that so far, especially 2 months into the year. I'm not saying that this is going to continue, but that's what we're here to test. We're here to test if this strategy does make profit. And a lot of people were commenting on the previous video saying you're entering on a candle close, but if you're actually entering that live, then you're going to have to calculate your lot size, calculate your stop loss size, and then enter, you'll miss the entry. But the whole idea for this was to create a strategy that's so simple that I can then take it and create an algorithm that then trades this strategy. I don't want to be trading it live. I just want to set up an algorithm that during a certain time of day, I press on, it trades for that hour or 2 hour period, I press off, done. And if I do that every single day, that takes me 2 seconds to press on and off every single day. Relatively simple. And then obviously we can make some nice profits if it does continue to work. So here was the plan we actually created in the first video, the NY breakout plan, obviously the New York breakout plan, looking at entering in this 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. time frame, breakout and close below or above previous high or low, and we'll go through that obviously when we're entering the trades. The previous high or low has to be within the last hour, relatively self-explanatory. If price continues in the current trend, a close following that trend will cause an entry. Very nice. That basically means that although price can be trending, we don't want to miss out on any positions, so we're entering even if price closes above or below in that current trend basically. Stop loss above or below previous wicks. This is obviously quite discretionary at the moment because I'm kind of testing, but I'm trying to make it fully mechanical before we go into an algorithm. Obviously we want to collect the data. Take profit twice the size, so always a 1 to 2 with this strategy. And invalidation, close in opposite direction from the desired one. So this means a breaker structure in the opposite direction. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get onto the trades. So here you can see we are on the 1st of May and 1:30 was here on this candle. So now we can continue to trade. So you see this candle closed, didn't close above or below, it was basically equal. But this one, like I said, if it continues with the trend and price obviously hasn't broken to the downside, we are now entering this position. Literally that simple. So enter it here, stop loss just below, and take profit at a 1 to 2. We're going to place that order. Make sure it is at a market. Yep, there we go, instead of a limit. We'll save that there. So now we are in the trade. And we'll see what happens here. I'm obviously not going to talk through every single trade and say, this is what I'm thinking about happening and everything like this. I'm just going to enter the trades and then we can see the stats at the end. But I'm obviously going to talk through if the entry is valid and if I'm closing early and things like that. So now we go to the next day and obviously 1:30 here. And then we can go, okay, price is now broken to the upside. Just go quickly show you that this was technically the high or low and it was within the past hour. You could say this one here, you could say this one here. It's a great thing. It depends on what you see as a breaker structure or what you see as previous structure. It's a very subjective thing. I've noticed that a lot of people disagree with my breakthrough structure and I also disagree with theirs. So as long as we both make profit, that's all that matters. You see this trade, although we had that massive momentum push down, it didn't break the structure because there was no structure on this trade to actually break. So we couldn't have made that loss any smaller because of that exact reason, which is annoying, but it's nothing we can do. Candles like this, it's most likely NFP because it's the first Friday of the month. So I completely avoid candles like this where there's so much volume. So one like this is what I mean with continuing the uptrend. So we would enter here. Obviously it doesn't look like the best setup possible, but this is what we can see when I look back at all the data, which ones were actually the most profitable ways of actually entering. And the beauty of doing it on YouTube too, I'm able to look back and see every single type of setup, how the trade acted when I was playing through it, rather than just looking at numbers on a spreadsheet, for example. Okay, so we started with 3 losses in a row. This isn't ideal, but the good thing about this strategy, I can move this to a side here, and now if price breaks any of these previous structure points, I could technically enter, but it doesn't look like we're going to get all the way down here, so I can just skip to the next day. Okay, so this is another one that could continue the momentum. There we go. Stop loss below. Take profit out of 1 to 2. Let's play this one out. See if we can get TP. Okay, so here, this is now a basically break of the previous structure, because we had a previous structure here. And we have now broken out, so we can basically save ourselves 0.2% on this loss here. You know, it could go to TP after that, but it doesn't matter because we're out of the trade. Even if we can minimize our loss by 0.2%, 0.3% on many positions, out of 10 trades, you're saving yourself 2 or 3% profit, which is great if you can actually do that. Okay, so this one has actually broken structure to the downside. So we're going to enter this here. Put this take profit down there. And that one's a very brutal loss. But what we can do now is we can buy, because the price is still valid. And obviously if it was an algorithm, it would notice this as another break of structure, unless you are telling it one trade per session, basically. See if this one can win. Can we get our first win of the video? Okay, so this one has actually broken structure to the downside now. So we are going to close this in profit. And you'll see that this was the previous structure here. We've now closed below. So we're going to close out the trade. This could go to take profit now, but it doesn't matter because we've broken that structure. So I'm out of the trade. As you can see here, it would have gone to the stop loss anyway. Another one of these news candles, so we're going to skip this. On to the next one. Obviously a lot of consolidation here, which is never ideal, but we do get that break down below, so we have to enter. You could probably say, oh well, these setups don't look the best, but a strategy doesn't have to look good to perform well. If we have this month could be negative, we could be down a few percent, but then we do have good months, so it kind of, as long as it balances out over the year, that is all that really matters to me. Okay, so we have a break to the upside. And the good thing about doing these videos is this strategy could completely fail. You know, it could have 2 good months at the start, I could continue testing it, and then it could completely fail for months after that. But that's why I'm showing you guys that not every single strategy you test is going to be amazing. There are going to be strategies that you test like this one this month where it's just losing money, and that is completely fine. It's not always going to go perfectly. It's going to buy here. It's going to be a bit of a bigger stop loss and take profit, but I didn't want to trade on the news candle, obviously, because I want to trade after the news candle. If it's an NFP, then I'm basically not interested. See if this one can actually win. If it goes past 7 PM, I'll be out of the trade. There we go. Close the trade. I don't want to be holding very late, because there's no point holding a trade when you're only meant to be in it for, you know, a short period of time. This one's going to be the exact same scenario. We haven't had a previous break of structure or anything, so we're going to not trade this one. The previous trade we did have a break of structure, although it was after news, it's still a break of structure. So we did trade it. This one obviously looks a bit similar to news again. You notice trading at this time, you do tend to have a lot more news events at 1:30 than you would normally do at trading a 9 a.m. London session strategy, for example. But I already have a strategy I trade in London session, so I don't want to trade multiple at once, especially if both are trading against the dollar. This one actually lost. We probably could have cut this loss short actually, but I was being impatient clicking through there. That was my mistake. Okay. Can we break structure? Here we go. And you'll notice that pretty much every single day has a trade. This can either be a good thing or a bad thing. But what we're actually seeing here is we're collecting so much data. And what I'm going to do after this, after I've completed 6 to 12 months of testing for this exact style, we're going to have probably 120 to 250 trades that we can actually look back on and go through the data. And I'm going to go back through the videos, back through the data, and calculate exactly the profitability of this strategy, which setups actually work the best and which ones we're better off not taking. Because this one, okay, finally we've had a full win. We finally had a full win. That is a relief. And obviously when you're trading a strategy, your main goal is to have as low of a drawdown as possible. You don't want to have a high drawdown, because that basically shows that you're wrong a lot of the time, or you're wrong big a lot of the time. Because if you have a drawdown that's small, then you're either losing little or you're not losing a lot. That's kind of the ultimate goal. But even if it is a side strategy that's just automated, if it makes an extra few % per year, then that would be absolutely great. Okay, so this one has closed below, so we're going to close this one out for a small loss. It could win now, and that doesn't matter. That's what you need to do in your trading. If a trade, you close it out because it's invalid, then it wins. You have to completely detach all your emotions from that trade. So this one did actually continue the trend here, because obviously you're closing for an invalidation for a reason, because from your data you've seen that price is no longer looking to go to your entry, to take profit even. This one again, beautiful trade. Okay, so let's see if this is a continuation one. There we go. So this is what I mean by continuation. It continues the trend of the previous few candles. Obviously now price could melt and break structure to the downside, but I just want to see what happens when we trade a continuation like this. There we go, take profit here. We're finally having a little winning streak here, and we're getting out of the drawdown that we are in. Okay, will we get a nice break to the upside? Yes, we do. And obviously the beauty of trading with a 1 to 2 risk to reward is we only need half the wins to make break even. So obviously we've lost a lot of trades, but we're only down 1%, which is not too shabby. Now down 2%. Yeah, we'll keep going. We only have around 6 or so days left of this month, so it's been an action-packed one so far. This one we're going to put it below this wick, but you see I'm testing around. Okay, I'm going to put it below this wick or this wick, because until we have the data, we can see exactly if it's the first candle that's more profitable or the second candle. I can actually test this later, because I leave all of these on the charts, all of the risk to reward tools, so I can basically go back and see which ones are most profitable. Okay, let's see if we can, there we go, break the high. Then put that one down. See, sometimes it looks like you're going to have a massive move. Sometimes it looks like it's a tiny move. So let's see if this one can make that big move. And when I say big move, it's only 17 pips, obviously. But because we are on the lower time frames, it does tend to look a bit larger. like I said, I close out if it's getting to 7. There we go. So we close out now. And that's a good thing if you're having a trading bot. Let's say you notice that after 4:30 or 5:30, the price doesn't actually hit your take profit and it just basically consolidates, so then goes to a stop loss. You can notice this and say, close trades if trades open at this time. And that's a great thing to do, even in your own trading as well. If you're in a trade for too long and you notice that in the past when you have been in a trade for too long, then it's probably not best to continue being in that trade. Break to the downside here. See if we can get a 1 to 2. There we go. How many days do we have left? Not many. So we might be able to end this month in profit. We might be in slight drawdown. This one technically you could say is a continuation. Again, this isn't going to be a perfect strategy yet. We are just testing. Just bear that in mind before you comment. There we go, nice win. This one, a break to the upside. It is annoying that I can't just click 1 to 2 and then it sets a 1 to 2. That would be a lot easier. Maybe something that they could add. Oh, held that one slightly too long. And is there one more day? There we go. One more trading day. Thought it might have been a Sunday or something. There we go. So this one. This is obviously lots of volume in this candle. And it's probably a news candle. Let's see if I can actually turn on the news filter so it'd be easier for me to see any news. I'm not exactly sure how to do so. Pretty sure there is a feature where you can turn on the news. Here we go, news. We want Europe and we want USA news. So now when we're at this time, 31st of May, there was CPI, and we obviously can see that was at this time, so we're not going to enter this trade. This is something we're going to look at in the future when we are clicking through. Well, obviously we would have bought here and price probably would have hit stop loss, but that's something we are going to look at in the future. So I think we can add it here. Yeah, so in the future, news events like these ones will show up on the chart and we are going to pay attention to them just so we know exactly when to avoid our trades basically. Right, so another full month done, and you can see we spent 28 of the 31 days of the month in drawdown. 28 of the days in drawdown, but we still ended in profit. We ended up 3% profit, which is great. So now it obviously shows that the first month was 6.6%, then we had a 1.6%, and now we've had a 3%. So that is great. That's around 11% profit if my quick calculations are correct. It is early in the morning. Well, not early, it's 11 a.m, but it feels early, especially when it's cold in England. But we have actually had 3 profitable months in a row. And we can see here the win rate on each day. We can see the profit versus the loss on each day. So you see that majority of our profits are made on a Tuesday, and also we hardly have any losses on a Tuesday. But let me see, 2K. So Fridays are break even. Thursdays are losing in this month of May. Yeah, so we have 2 months that are making us, 2 days that are making us profit, and the rest are losing or break even. So it's definitely something we can pay attention to over the long term. But you can see the stats here, 45% win rate. Doesn't seem very high. You know, we're losing more trades than we're winning, but we are still profitable. This is something that I would obviously like to fix having 28 days in drawdown. It's not ideal, especially when I think the peak was almost minus 7% in 1 month. That is not exactly what I want, and that's not what this strategy is for. But because it will be kind of passive, it's not too bad. So 3 months in, 3 profitable months in. Looking forward to the next episode now. Looking forward to getting to that 12-month point so we have a full year of data to actually see and then crunch some numbers and see how well we can do. But like I did in the last episode on the main channel, I actually went through some data. I didn't do it on this one, but you can see that we found out that a 1 to 0.5 was actually more profitable. This also could have been the case with this one because we had a lot of trades that went into profit and then we actually hit a 1% loss. So perhaps on these trades here, I can go back and calculate the exact same thing like this for every single month. Obviously this was done in April. Perhaps I can do it for this one too, ready for the next episode, to show you that maybe 1 to 2 isn't perfect, but obviously we have the trades now so I can go back through and see and test for myself. So if you guys did enjoy and you want me to add any testing parameters for the next episode, comment them down below and I'll catch you guys next time.